Hello everybody, my name is Rojo and welcome back to Wizardry 7. This is going to be not a gameplay video per se, we're just going to chat about the whole import situation and the ending that we got for Wizardry 6. And we'll probably touch on mechanics a little bit here. So spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear what, the ending for Wizardry 6 for one reason or another because you didn't watch the playthrough or, whatever, I am going to be talking about it in 3, 2, 1, close your ears. Okay, so at the end of Wizardry 6, we got what I guess you could consider to be the good ending, and we did not kill the Bane King because we dropped a certain item, and instead he ends up killing himself because he's sick of his vampiric unlife, and as a result, we didn't have to kill Rebecca, who basically just decided to go off and seek her own fate after the king died. We did manage to find the Cosmic Forge. The Wizardry 6 is called Bane of the Cosmic Forge. The Cosmic Forge is a pen, which is a magical artifact that is used to write the fate of the universe, I guess is roughly the gist of it. However, if you don't use it properly, and in the way that it is meant to be used, you will suffer a Bane, hence Bane of the Cosmic Forge. The Bane is basically a curse that will screw you if you try to do something with it again in a way that it is not intended to be used. So yeah, we found that pen. We did not take the pen, which is something that you could do at the end of Wizardry 6, and instead, Rebecca had told us that she has a half-brother. We went and found him, and that is Bella, who was the Black Dragon in the introduction from the previous video, the first episode of Wizardry 7 here. I'll probably explain that in another episode because I didn't really touch too much on that stuff because we were just overwhelmed with so much stuff to get through. But at any rate, yeah, we hooked up with him, and the game ends kind of right where that cutscene begins. Although at the end of the Wizardry 6, he does mention that the spaceship needs fuel, and that we can make it from the bones of the dinosaurs that are around the temple that we found him in. So our characters took a long time to kill every single straggler they could find for money and experience. So I did a pretty immense amount of grinding while zoning out to, watching movies and stuff like that. And just getting people's stats and skills up. And then also just, accumulating resources that we could import into Wizardry 7 here. Now, every character that we have has a specific class, and the reason that they have the class that they do is to help me import something into the game. Specifically, a weapon in a lot of cases, so like the Avenger is a weapon we got near the end game of Wizardry 6, so I needed somebody to equip that because there are certain items that are very special, particularly, you could think of just like the most powerful items in Wizardry 6, and you can only bring one of those per character over. But the only way to guarantee that you get the item you want, because it's very randomized, is by making sure you only have one such item equipped. So, and I believe items that aren't equipped, that are special, just won't even be in the running. I'm not sure about that, so don't quote me. So anyway, yeah. Needed a lord to bring the Avenger over. It's the most powerful sword, one of the most powerful swords in Wizardry 6, and one of the most powerful swords in this game. We would have to identify it to be able to actually see the stats, which I guess maybe we could do. Do you have Identify? You do. So just to give you an example of how this works, it's probably not going to be... Yeah, we need to cast a little bit more. Try to cast a little bit more powerful version here. And we still failed. So it is what it is. So we're going to go through and just talk about the items that we have in the imported stuff. So the Ring of Stars is something we got at the end of Wizardry 6 as well, I believe from, well, I think we did anyway. I think we got it from Zorfidus, the second half of Zorfidus. I could be wrong about that. But this is one item that actually, I believe, freely transfers. As for our armor, all the awesome armor that we had counts as a special item like the Avengers, so we had to make some difficult choices as far as what to bring. And unfortunately, since we did the Caterpillar quest in Wizardry 6, Mylai ran away, and so a lot of her gear can be transferred, and it's better than this. So we had to go back to like Queequeg level of gear, basically. So our armor is a little bit more in line of what you would expect to have near the start of Wizardry 7, I imagine. We got a lot of potions that we brought over because gold does not transfer. But if you bring potions over, you can then sell them for gold because the potions will transfer. And you can stack them quite high. I also have some additional gear that I brought. We did start with some gear, like Ulu started with a broadsword, so I think everybody started with a weapon that they could use for their class. But we brought some additional gear just for class changes in the future. Aside from that, I think we're good with Ulu here. So he came in as a lord. I can't remember what everybody was previously, but it's probably different than what they ended the game as in Wizardry 6. Coming over here, so the Muramasa Blade, supremely powerful weapon for samurai and I think ninjas as well. He's got a Wakizashi in the offhand, just a basic offhand weapon. This Ankh of Life is an item that just happened to transfer. It gives him -1 AC. And then he's got some other basic armor. I got a lot of sparkle sticks because I had heard that you can raise your artifact skill by using these in combat. So we'll talk about skills a little bit later. We'll just continue with the gear for now. These muskets we got in the first episode there. This Displacer Cloak actually came in on Gertrude because she is a mage. For Nerb, I instead imported the Spear of Death. The only way to get this in this game or in Wizardry 6, let's put it this way. The only way to get it in Wizardry 6 is to kill the Amazuli Queen, which we did. That is an optional thing. You don't have to kill her. And the only way to get the Spear of Death in this game in Wizardry 7 is to import it from 6. Or I suppose to cheat using, I guess, the Cosmic Forge editor. So there was that. We also got a couple instruments that transferred over, which is really nice. We got the Poet's Lute, which puts enemies to sleep, and the Angel's Tongue, which blesses the party, I believe. And Nerb is one of the characters that we have that has some skill with music. So I think he should still be able to use them in this game, even though he's not a bard right now. Alright, Elise is coming over. She brought the Menad's Lance, which is a really powerful two-handed weapon. She lets her attack from the back row as well, because it is an extended reach weapon, which you can see in the where it says weapon, you can see it says E in parentheses. That's what that means. Has a special power. Don't recall what it is. I'm not gonna invoke it because I don't want it to disappear. If an item has a special power and then you invoke it, I believe it disappears if it runs out of charges. So yeah, she's got some basic gear as well. Started with a few items. I didn't even check your swag. Oh no, I did check your swag bag. Yeah, these resurrection potions. They're worth a lot of gold. There's no other way to put it. If we end up dying a bunch, we will probably save scum out of that death, unless it's a particularly difficult fight, and I feel like we got lucky just to get through it. You can actually see here the number of times people have died and what their current age is, if you just click the candle there. Also XP to next level, which is good to know. Alright, moving on. So Alima here, she brought over the Elven Bow and the Diamond Ring, which we got from Rebecca at the end of the game by telling her that we loved her. This Diamond Ring, female only, extremely powerful, gives us, I believe, -4 to AC across the board. And apparently has a special power. Oh no, maybe it's -5 AC. So yeah, it's a really good item. And the only way to get that is at the end of Wizardry 6, as I had said. This also will import into Wizardry 8. which is another reason I wanted to grab it. Let's see. The map kit is something that we started with because we imported a save that was finished, I think. You may not have to finish a game. Maybe you can cheese it by just making a quick Wizardry 6 save and then importing that. But either way, we've got the map kit. You normally don't start with that. Aside from that, we just have like a bunch of ammunition for her. Barbed arrows are pretty good. Bows in general are not. She would probably be, she would almost certainly do more damage with the Spear of Death than she will be able to do with that bow. At least over time as her skill with weapons increases. And we'll talk about skills in a little bit. Finally, we have Gertrude here. She's a Valkyrie. Valkyrie, of course, because the Maenads Lance is Valkyrie only, and Nerb is a monk. Because he could equip the Spear of Death, that's why. And then we have Gertrude here, who's coming in as a mage. And as I said, I gave her the Displacer Cloak. The reason I gave her the Displacer Cloak, we had some other choices that we could have gone with, including weapons, but none of them were quite at the level of, like, the Maenads Lance, for example. This Displacer Cloak basically is usable by anybody, male, female, race, class, does not matter. And it's just a flat -4 AC across the board, and it just seemed really universally useful, so that's why I decided to bring that over. So yeah, Gertrude, she's coming in hot with a bullwhip. She does have a quarterstaff as well as some ninja gear, because we will be having a ninja or two in the party as time goes on. I have a whole spreadsheet of like who's going to be what class and what, how many stat points it takes for them to get to that class. It's a whole thing. But anyway, she came over with some basic armor, nothing too crazy going on there. So I think that's everything as far as just importing our items. When you import, you also get, like, you can see our stats are phenomenal. A level 5 character would almost never have stats this good. But yeah, so when you import a character, you keep a lot of your stats. But you also get a portion of your skills. I think there's a random element to it. But you can see her skills are quite high. You would start at, I think, like basically 0 from pretty much all this stuff. And you have to work your way up. If you were just making new characters, a fresh party for Wizardry 7. So we're starting off in a very powerful state. Make no mistake about it. However, this game is not fair by any stretch of the imagination, so we can absolutely still die. You saw we were having trouble with like even just the ghosts that we were fighting in the town. On top of that, we've got some particularly important skills, like not just the weapon skills, because we can raise those up anytime, but coming in with like ninjutsu, for example, means we can hide and increase our... we're able to get this, have access to this skill and increase it without having to class into like a monk or a ninja or whatever. So that's just a really big advantage, I feel. Aside from that, Kiri Jitsu is a skill that allows us to instantly kill monsters, and that can also work against us if a monster happens to have it. I've read that this really only works when you're higher level than the monsters you're fighting. I don't know if that's true. I guess we will find out in time. On top of that, coming over with some extra spell points is going to be really advantageous to us, because we're going to be changing classes a lot, because we're going to be starved for skill points, at least if everything goes as planned here. So yeah, having a head start here, really, really useful. So that's where Ulu's at as far as his skills go. And then for spells, we've got, this is another random thing. I mentioned that I wanted everybody to have a spell in each school when they import it in. That's because if you level up and you don't have any spells in a particular school, you don't get any mana for that school. And that's a problem. We want as much as we can get, because regeneration in this game can be particularly slow, so having a large reserve could save our lives at some point. And spells will get very expensive, especially as we get to the higher levels, all the way up to level 7, which I don't even know if there was a 7 in Wizardry 6 or not. It might have topped out at 6. But somebody can remind me, I guess. Yeah, it's been a while. I don't recall. At any rate, on top of that, I want to make sure we had access to some particularly important spells, like fireballs are good. You know, anything that can AoE clear enemies. Blades, I think, is an earth spell. Certainly we want Identify. Sane Mind, really not so important, probably in the early game. But then we want stuff like Enchanted Blade, which is a spell we cast outside of combat to increase our chance to hit. And it's kind of vital, I found in Wizardry 6. I don't know if it will be in this game or not, but I expect it probably will, because mechanically the combat in this game is more or less the same as Wizardry 6. Stuff like Air Pocket also situationally useful, but you're glad to have it when you need it. And Cure Paralysis, again, yeah, Paralysis can be really bad. Blinding Flash even is actually a pretty good spell. And we have spells from like different schools of magic. There's 4, or not schools, but different class spell lists, I guess is a better way to put that, because there's 4 of them. There's the Mage spell list, the Psionic spell list, the Priest spell list, and the Alchemist's spell list. And some spells are exclusive to one or another. Like, for example, I believe Blinding Flash is exclusive to Alchemy. So coming in with that can be useful, especially if, I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, but especially if his class path doesn't ever give him access to alchemical magic. He would never actually be able to learn this spell in this game without me, you know, going off the beaten path of my plan and making him an alchemy casting class for a little bit. All right, so we talked about the magic. We'll take a look at everybody else's spells real quick. The other reason though that people are the classes that they are, and sort of it's what helped inform my decision of what I was going to be able to import into this game, is that the mana regeneration when you create a character in Wizardry 7, their mana regeneration is set at that point in time. No amount of class changing or stat increases or anything will ever change that, supposedly. Anyway, I don't know if this is true, but I wasn't going to take the risk. So we're coming in hot with pretty high stats. There's a certain threshold of int plus piety where you get +1 or I think +2 to all of your mana regenerations per tick. And then each class has its own sort of table for how much of each resource they regenerate per tick. So like a monk would probably get more mental magic than, say, fire magic, but it all adds up. The point is, classes like a thief or a fighter who never get any magic are coming in with like a 1. So even coming in with a 2 is way better. Now, I believe, yeah, like Monk is good at regenning mental. Samurai, I think it's good fire regen. Lord and Valkyries probably get good divine regen. And let's see. I think let's just look at her spells. I don't know if we're going to look at everybody's spells here or not, but just to give you an idea of what we have for everybody, because I'm going to have to try and memorize this myself. We also, we start with up to level 3 spells, I believe, is how it works. And then it's randomized as far as what you actually remember on the way through. So Valkyries, good with divine and, maybe water or something like that. And then mages, I think, are pretty good with everything, but probably particularly with fire, if I had to guess. I don't quite recall. It's in the, you can see it in the Cosmic Forge editor. But I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. We can also look at everybody's skills real quick, just so you have an idea where they're at, if you care. Because as I had said before, we're going to be, I think, a little bit skill starved. And each character that I have, I'll explain this later when we get our first level up, but each character is going to specialize in one particular skill, like mapping or legerdemain or skullduggery, etc. And that's sort of also just based on how I intend to import them into Wizardry 8. My planned classes for them, I guess, if that makes sense. Because Wizardry 8 classes are far different than the Wizardry 7 classes. Let's see, did I go through all of hers? I think I did. So this is pretty much it. Yeah, like I said, I think I've talked about everything that I wanted to talk about in this particular episode. So hopefully that is useful information, or at least interesting information for you. As far as just how we imported the game and why we have some of the stuff that we have, because we are certainly well equipped to begin this adventure.